Welcome back, everybody, and the cat is going to go, and the cat has gone poof. Welcome back, everybody. It is another edition of New Guitar Day. I don't think there's any reason to turn on the light. We can see everything just fine. You can see, well, first of all, it is August the 29th, 2023, and you can see once again Amazon has sent their mini refrigerator box for a guitar. And today's guitar is an IYV ILJR 200. And this is their iteration or version of a Les Paul Jr. Double Cut. And this guitar was ordered back on March 15th as a pre-order. And as I just told you, today's the 29th of August, so this guitar I waited 5.5 months for. So let's just dig in and see if it was worth it. Again, I'm shocked that Amazon sends this giant box. They claim to be sensitive to the environment and packing, and I have no idea why they would send something in a giant box. And if my guess is correct, well, there's a little bit of packing material in there, which usually they don't bother to even do that. They put one slice of paper, but I mean, again, imagine all of that box for this little box. Definitely not very mindful. So we're just going to whip this puppy right out, take a look at it. I find it interesting because Amazon only puts these up for pre-order every once in a while, for like a day, and then they take them down. We're back to the styrofoam neck brace, but shockingly, they put a little styrofoam there, a little styrofoam here. It didn't break on this one, which is nice, because oftentimes it does. I'm going to pull this out and give it a quick weigh. My guess is just by feeling it, it feels like it's in the upper 6 pounds, maybe 7, which I'm glad. It's made out of basswood, which is fine for me. Don't need mahogany, heavy mahogany. Initial inspection looks good. Probably will have the typical IYV finish issues potentially, which is no big deal. Front-ends feel nice. The action actually looks pretty decent. I have no idea if it's intonated properly. Action sort of jacked up a little high on this side. Feels good. So, we're going to take a momentary break here. Just to move things around. We'll be right back. So, believe it or not, it comes in at 5.6 pounds, which is, yeah, interesting. So, there's no more comments. Yeah, just like the picture showed, there's no fret marker dots on this. There's the side dots, but nothing on the fingerboard, which will be interesting. That'll take some getting used to. So yeah, I'm going to go play it. I will be back. Okay, so we are back. We originally started this video at about 1:30. It's about 3 o'clock now. I played the guitar for about 40 minutes. And overall, I really like this guitar. As you know, as I've said in my other videos, if I was more adept as a player and I had a setup that could actually capture some good tonal quality, I'd be more likely to demonstrate what this guitar sounds like. But to me, it's painful when I watch YouTube videos where the audio is being recorded in the pin-size microphone that is on most digital video cameras, and it doesn't even begin to tell you the tale. I am a person who generally does not ever play on just my bridge pickup, So I knew I was sort of taking a chance when I got this, but I also once upon a time owned a Gibson Les Paul Jr. that just had the single P90 pickup. And I discovered that if you just roll off the tone almost all the way, you can get a nice bass, you know, nice good sound. If you listen to guys like Leslie West and the Jethro Tull album Aqualung, I believe their guitar player played exclusively at that point in time on Les Paul Jr.'s with single bridge pickup P90s. And you can get a really nice rock and roll sound out of this. Again, the two things that really surprised me about this guitar, just because I couldn't tell with the picture that this is a gloss finish, I for some reason just assumed it was going to be a matte or a satin finish, but it's a gloss finish and they did a really nice job on it. And the other thing that surprised me was, but it shouldn't have, because the picture showed no fret markers and this has no fret markers. First guitar I've had. I once upon a time long ago had a Hofner Beetle bass, and if I remember correctly it didn't have fret markers on the fretboard either. So it just, either one of two things, I'll go out and buy some of those little decals that you put on, or I'll just learn how to play without fret markers. It does have the side markers, but they're tiny and you have to really look hard to see them. But, you know, other than that, the only flaw that I can find on this guitar, very minor, and if they would have just not done it, it would have been perfect. Right here on the neck is like a finish bump. I don't feel it when I'm playing, so it's not really that big of an issue at all. Otherwise, they got the finish down really nice. I mean, there's just really, the guitar's really clean. Oh, and the other thing that surprised me too is how little it weighs, 5.6 pounds. Some people might think that that's a toy. I don't play standing up, so neck dive's not an issue for me. I just keep the strap nice and close to me, and yeah, so that's not an issue. Spritzer there, I think that's just my fingerprints on the guitar. This guitar felt like it was brand new from the factory. It didn't feel like anyone had touched it since it left Vietnam, the factory. The action's a little high on the treble side, which I will adjust. I try not to adjust anything for the first couple days, since this guitar has been in a million time zones and on boats and humidity and desert heat and all kinds of adventures. I like it to just sort of settle in. It's playable out of the box. I tuned it, stretched the strings, tuned it again, stretched the strings again, and played it for 45 minutes, and it pretty much stayed in tune. It's got a really beefy bridge, and the interesting thing about the bridge is it seems to be intonated really well, but they allow you to do some minor adjustment on a fixed wraparound bridge on the B and the, I don't even know what the strings are. See, I gotta learn all this stuff. Okay, so E, A, D, so the G and the B string. There's some minor adjustments that you can do, but they intonated it from the factory really nice, so that's okay. And again, the only odd thing I find about this guitar is that Amazon puts it up for like a day or two at a time, allowing you to pre-order it, and then they pull it down. According to the serial number, the best I can read it, this guitar was actually made in May of 2023, so it's fresh from the factory. And yeah, you know, certainly not a guitar for everyone. It's funny, the double cut would be really appealing to people that play a lot up here. I don't play a lot up here, but yeah, it's a nice feeling guitar. It feels good. And again, I happen to be a fan of light guitars. I don't like heavy guitars at all. And this guitar just really comes in good. And I do believe, unless I've missed it, that this is the first YouTube video review of the IYV ILJR-200 in what they call TV yellow. I don't know if this is actually close to what the original TV yellow was. From the pictures I've seen, TV yellow is a little more faded out. This seems more like a canary yellow, but it's a pretty color. And again, nice job on the paint. They did a nice finish job. It's just, I usually try to look at a guitar and then I try to feel it with my fingers, because your fingers will like sometimes show you, or you'll feel things that you wouldn't normally. There's some more schmutz, but I think that's me. I think that's my schmutzing around. So, I give this guitar a 2 thumbs up. It's all a matter of taste. As I've said before, I would never recommend this guitar, that this will be the best guitar that you'll ever own. If it's the kind of guitar you like, the neck is not overly chunky. It's a C-shaped neck, I believe, based on just my impressions of it. Maybe it's a little more of a D. It's not flat. I don't know what the specs are at all. I don't know. The fretboard's probably 12-inch radius, I would guess. It feels like it's fairly flat. The frets, while not highly polished, and you wouldn't expect that for a $136 guitar, there's no grit on the frets. The fret ends, as have been on every single IYV guitar I've purchased, have been well above. They're a little rough right here, but who plays up there? But they always do a nice job on the fret ends. They're not like some of the other lower-end guitars that give you the optional cheese grater fret ends. So they do a nice job there. And the sound of the P90 sounds like a P90. It growls. Again, I was playing it and I had my tone down to about 2. So that took all the highs off of it. If you turn it up any higher than that, although I have learned years ago that if you're playing in a band situation and you're the lead guitar player, the extra treble allows you to really cut through the EQ of the mix. So when you're sitting home in your living room and you're playing at low volumes, the treble to me is a little ice picky. But in a live situation, oftentimes it's that treble that really lets your lead guitar cut through. So in that situation, you might want to turn up the tone. But I'm, again, really impressed with this guitar. And again, the backstory again, for all of you who've noticed in my videos, I repeat myself a lot. If you're young, I can only laugh because as you get older, you'll do that too. But anyways, the date is August the 29th, 2023. The final days of summer. Today up here in Montana, it's 94, 95 degrees. Tomorrow it'll be 72. We'll go through a bit of a roller coaster for a while before winter settles in. And this is the IYV ILJR for Junior 200. And again, ordered it back on March 15th. Received it on August 29th. It is by far the longest I've ever waited for a guitar. I just sort of ordered it and forgot about it. And there's something to be said about that. And again, I can't help but laugh at the humongous box that Amazon sends this guitar in to fit that tiny little box in. But that's Amazon. That's what Amazon does. So I'm just going to get to know this guitar. Like I said, I may put some fret marker decals on. I've never done that on a guitar. My biggest concern is whether I'll be able to center them because I'm a little OCD, and if I put them too off, probably drive me nuts. But I've heard good things about them, that you put them on and you don't really feel them under your fingers. So, and this would be the perfect guitar to experiment with. So maybe I'll give it a shot. But anyways, thank you very much for joining me. This should be the last guitar for a while because I've pretty much got everything that I ever wanted or hoped for or dreamed of, and have some guitars for sale. And I have a Grote, their jazz box. They don't give it any designation. That has a single P90 in the neck position, and I thought, well, I don't have a guitar that has a single P90 in the bridge position, so this guitar seemed to fit. I know there's a company called, I want to call them West Creek, that has this style guitar, but they've got like the Telecaster control panel, which I didn't like. I like this was more just traditional of what a Gibson would look like, just the 2 knobs. And yeah, and the pick guard seems to be cut well, smooth, there's no rough edges on it. So yeah, overall, feels good. So if you're interested in it, it's something that you'll have to also show patience for. Pre-order it and then sit around and wait for 4 or 5 months, unless Amazon actually gets some in stock for instant purchase. So, thank you for joining us. Once again, it's been a pleasure in your Guitar Day, and have a fine day. Love your neighbor.